Welcome back to Radio Taiwan International. You're listening to Geek Out. What's your cup of tea, tickles your fancy, or floats your boat? Join us as we share passions from people in Taiwan and around the world. I'm your host, Michelle Chang, and back again in the studio we have Kim Gordon.
Hello.
And Cat Rights.
Hello.
So Kim, what are we geeking out about today?
Languages.
Which seems like kind of a broad term, but okay, we all three of us actually have a job here, or I'd had anyway, teaching English to Taiwanese students. Right? So we have a fairly close recent experience with languages, at least in a classroom.
Oh, yeah. That's my life.
Yeah. So as we said in the last episode, we have nearly 35 years of experience sitting in this room of teaching.
We are the ancient one.
And previous to teaching at Hess, I'd only like tutored now and then, that kind of thing. And teaching English makes you look at English, which is my native tongue, our native tongue, I think, many different other lights, because you're trying to teach it to someone who doesn't speak it. And it's just a messed up language to teach.
Sure
I'm just going to say that.
So generally speaking, according to the last random study I saw about it, the hardest language allegedly to learn is Chinese, Mandarin Chinese.
Mandarin traditional.
All encompassing. So like writing and speaking all together. So cohesively, Mandarin Chinese is considered the hardest language to learn. And I 100% disagree with that. Having taught English as a second language and having learned Mandarin Chinese in a classroom setting. Now, I realize I'm on the spectrum, so like languages are sort of my thing. I'm like a sponge. But also, when you look at English grammatically, it's a nightmare.
It's a mess.
There's a quote that I love by, I had to look it up to get the person who said it.
Okay.
It's James C. Nichol, who's a freelance game designer.
Okay.
Anyways, and he said, English is about as pure... Nope, can't say that. We don't just borrow words. On occasion, English has pursued other languages down alleyways to beat them unconscious and rifle their pockets for new vocabulary. And I love that because it's so accurate.
Oh my goodness, it's so accurate. Honestly, yeah, which is the literal truth about this language. As it evolved, it took a lot of
It's a gumbo pot.
Yeah, from other languages, which means it has the most irregularities I haven't taught any other languages, but that I have seen while examining languages, right?
Based on the ones I've studied. If I had to choose a second one as the hardest one, it would still not be Mandarin Chinese. I would 100% say Japanese. Because Japanese has multiple levels of talking.
Yep.
3 different alphabets.
Yes.
Katakana,
hiragana, and the kanji system, right? But not only that, because like you can speak a language, like please, like disregarding writing.
Yeah.
Altogether, right? Because you can function in a society without reading and writing. It's not fun. And I empathize with people who can't, but you can do it, right?
Yeah.
But Japanese has 4 different levels of talking. There's short form, long form, humble, 5. Humble, modest, and then what we call keigo, which is what you used to talk to like super, super high up people. Like if you were going to talk to the emperor,
superiors.
like if you were going to talk to your superiors, like the
president.
Yes. You would talk to him in keigo. And within all of those, there's different conjugations.
Yep.
And it's insane. And you have to conjugate adjectives in Japanese.
Why?
Thank you.
Why?
Adjectives. Okay, I thought the pluperfect of the subjunctive in Spanish was horrible to learn when I was learning
German
it.
feel easy.
Yes. And so we're sitting there in 3rd year Japanese and like, we're going to learn keigo. And we were like, we're never going to have to use keigo, but okay.
Not today, modern day anyway.
Yeah. But no, people still do use it. It's not outdated. It's a thing that people still use. But as a foreigner in Japan, you're not really expected to use it.
Yeah.
Because it's high level stuff.
Absolutely. Korean is the same way. There's 5 different ways of addressing someone when you're talking to them. So it is equally complicated. Yes, you can get to the point where you can learn, peer level Korean pretty quickly.
Yes.
It's fairly easy. And actually because the written Korean is pieced together phonetically like English, actually. It's logical. But in order to use it correctly in everyday, use if you live there, is difficult to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're quite similar. There's a lot of words between Japanese and Korean that are actually similar too.
Exactly.
Like shimbun is newspaper in both. Like
no, they're all based on Japanese, Korean,
and
Chinese. They're all based on the same language system, right?
The Han characters, right?
Yeah.
So they do have that in common. That's why, like, when they travel, when like Japanese people or Koreans, like they travel, like if they can't speak it, they could read.
They can at least understand maybe what this store sells.
You can, you can kind of sort it out, which is really fascinating.
Yeah,
I love that.
Cool.
I love that about language.
I mean,
and then there's English.
Yes.
Red, and
and actually, let's round table and talk about what languages we all know. Want to go first?
Oh, okay. Well, to varying degrees, I guess. English is my first language. Spanish. Chinese is probably better now. Like, my Chinese is way better than my Japanese now.
Definitely fair.
I think it's probably better than my Spanish now. I hope my mom doesn't hear this. And then Japanese. So those are mine.
We should have put you last so that you could just impress everybody. With
No!
Dang it.
My first language is English. I speak German. And I studied a little bit of Spanish. I did a Spanish immersion.
Oh,
so I can understand more than I can speak.
Yeah.
Chinese, again, the same. I can understand a lot more than I can speak. And then I studied Punjabi in university.
Very cool.
So
that's neat.
a little bit of Punjabi.
And I also know some ASL.
Which is absolutely language.
Also too. Yeah, I know a little bit of ASL too.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well then I'm definitely the lowest able here. Least able. Oh, I mean, English native tongue.
Yep.
And I'm going to say mostly bilingual in Mandarin Chinese. My parents were born in South Korea. So I have heard a lot of Korean and can get around and not die in South Korea, which is pretty great. And
that's always important.
Right. I took Spanish in high school, which I've mostly forgotten. And then 2 years of Italian in college. So I can read a menu. And that's just about it.
You don't know the hand gestures?
Of course I know. That's
an integral part.
I took a semester of Italian. I don't count it because I took a semester of Italian.
Right.
And it was terrible for me because my brain defaults to German in every single time. So like every test that I wrote in Italian, I had to write the German out first.
Oh wow!
And then write the Italian because I couldn't come up with the Italian.
That's something I tell kids to do though. And like when I'm teaching foreign languages or whatever, if they're struggling to write like an essay or something, I tell them write it sentence by sentence in your native tongue and then translate it, and then you can tweak it from there. Even if it's not grammatically correct or something, like you could the last step. It's like editing.
You an idea.
It's like editing, right? When you're writing a book or you're like in your native tongue, even you write a rough draft, right? It's the same concept. So like when I'm teaching English here too, when we have to translate sentences, I show the kids how to break them down grammatically because I have that background in Chinese. I'm like, this is what this is, and and context is everything, because that's what makes Chinese so much harder to translate. Context.
That's something, this I guess is a little off topic, but that's something I've always been a little bit angry about here, because a lot of English schools hire in Taiwan people who don't speak any Chinese.
Yes, this drives me nuts too. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have a lot of feelings about this, especially with especially with the preschool that none of us English teachers actually teach her, but let's be real, we do.
Yeah, right. I mean, okay, look, I have an Asian looking face. I present as Asian.
Yeah.
But my mother tongue is English, and I do speak enough Mandarin Chinese to be considered bilingual, and to actually understand why or what problems these students are facing as they learn English. And if you have a fair understanding of their mother tongue and then try to teach them this new language, then you can help them adapt faster.
Yes,
you can.
Yes, yeah, it's very important. Like, because when I first started here, I had Chinese, and I got started with a small class, or like 3 to 4 years old.
Yeah,
and brand new babies are like, "Whoa, we're learning a second language." The kids don't even understand the concept
of language.
They
have no idea.
Yeah, and so I just like when we come to Taiwan, I can't speak to every company here that hires foreigners for English teaching, but I know ours specifically, and we're not going to name names, but wants you to not speak any Chinese in the classroom. And I think that's a huge fallacy, especially with preschool where they don't know caca. Okay, did I say caca?
I think you can say caca. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was trying to censor myself, and caca came out. I'm sorry.
This is the languages show. So we can say caca.
Word of the day. But yeah, so like when the kids would talk to me, I could translate it in my head, and then I could parrot it back to them in English.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you go back and forth, and then that's how they learn at home.
Yeah.
If you're growing up in a bilingual household, like maybe you can speak to this.
Absolutely.
That you learn by
Parroting your
parroting
parents.
and getting corrected.
Exactly.
And getting
Exactly.
corrected.
Yep.
You learn by making mistakes.
And not corrected overtly, but like
negatively.
It's like you say something and they say it back to you.
It's a very
correctly,
neutral,
right?
neutral correction.
Right, like
so-
this is something that helped me with my Japanese when I was studying in Hikone, because none of my classmates wanted to use the Japanese they were learning. And the Japanese people are probably the best people to make mistakes with because they're lovely. And this is not a diss on anybody else. As a rule, the Japanese are modest, polite, and they are very, very helpful. Like a generalization.
Yep.
So I was like, why are you making me talk? Because I had pretty good Japanese in my class, but I'm also the shy one. I'm like, why are you going to make me talk? Like, you're going to put the introvert in? Oh, okay. But I wasn't afraid to make mistakes because I learned by making mistakes. And I kept telling everybody, you learn better by making mistakes. Mistakes
Exactly.
are crucial, so you know what you did wrong. And then you can improve on it and you'll remember what you did wrong. And then it just becomes second nature to you. Like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And so my Japanese got really good and did theirs.
That's the thing. Whenever you're learning a language, you can't be afraid or inhibited,
Right.
because if you don't make the mistakes, then nobody can correct you or help you.
Exactly. And it builds your confidence. I'm not confident in English at all. And this is my native tongue. But that's because I've been beaten down by teachers in the public school system so much, I think. And also other mental health issues. But that's like a whole nother thing. But like, generally speaking, but like, there's been studies on this that people have, I hate to say different personalities in different languages that they speak. But in a sense, yes. Because I'm far more confident talking to people in Chinese than I am in English.
Isn't that weird?
It's very bizarre. I use different voices. I say things that I probably wouldn't say in English, and not like a negative thing or something. It's just very different. And like I'm already a modest person. Like, it doesn't sound great, but I think you both can attest. I think I'm very modest, but I'm like 900% more modest.
We do
in
notice
Japanese.
a change when you switch to Chinese, and you've noticed a change when I switch to Chinese.
Yes.
I actually have a different personality in it.
Yes, you're far more aggressive. It's very funny. But it's like when I speak Spanish, I'm far more, I hate to say the word aggressive, but like
Assertive.
assertive. Yes, assertive's better. Because I don't want to give it a negative connotation, but like,
Oh no, I am aggressive.
wasn't me. I didn't say it, okay? No, you're type A, and I love it, and I'm here for it because I need that in my life because I'm not one at all. I'm like, you can step on me, it'd be fine. Or like what John Mulaney says, right? Where he's like, you could spill coffee on me, and I'll probably say sorry to you. Like, that's who I am as a person, right? And
Shout out to John Mulaney. Please come to Taiwan.
You have at least 3 of us in here who would go and see your
100%. Wait, where was I?
I forgot.
personalities. We're talking about personalities.
All right, we have different personalities when we.
Yes, sorry for the lapse.
Yes, switch to languages.
German
my
is
thoughts.
one of my like childhood languages, and so I don't know whether I have a different personality in German or not because I grew up speaking it with my family.
Right, and we don't understand German, so
So
we
I can't
tell
test this with you
But
guys.
you know, I wonder too, like, because of its similar back like historical.
Like
What's the word?
It's developmental, right? Like it's got the same kind of developmental
Roots.
Roots. That's the word I was
as,
looking for.
like,
roots as English.
English
Like,
does.
yeah, because English is the thief of
Hodgepodge.
yeah,
Yes.
it's the gumbo.
But it
pot.
is a Germanic language.
Yeah.
Right. So there are some differences,
Essentially.
but like grammatically, to a degree, it's quite similar. And so like, I would wonder if you don't quite have a very different one because you don't have to think differently to form your thoughts. Because like, for example, for Japanese, the sentences 90% of the time end in the verb.
Right.
And so you have to often think in reverse when you're talking in Japanese because it's like, I the tea drink, basically. It's not like Chinese where you can actually say, I drink tea.
I think I just had an aneurysm.
That Korean is very similar grammatically to Japanese in that regard, where the sentences also end. Or so I've heard anyway.
Coffee machine, that means coffee you drink.
See? She hadn't even thought about it till just now, but there you go. Like,
Yeah. In German, you'd say I drink tea.
yes. And so I wonder, just as a like my own thought experiment, if there's something there in terms of like the way that the language is structured, if that also plays a part in the way that you
process
process. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Everybody has their own aptitudes. Everybody's a little bit different.
Yep.
I personally have never been a language person. It's hard, and of course, like I said, you can't. I'm not. You can't be afraid to use language, and I'm not afraid to talk if I'm in Korea and I'm trying to get someplace.
Sure.
But I've always been over self-critical about the way that I sound. So because I obviously have an accent when I'm speaking any language that's not my first. So that's always been a little bit inhibitory, whatever that word.
I understand that, but I think that you shouldn't let it hold you back.
Yeah.
Because anybody that hears you speaking and hears an accent knows that at least you're trying. And I think even the attempt is appreciated.
Right.
Like the French get like a really bad rap, like stereotype wise, that they're rude and they're not nice to Americans and stuff, which I call BS on because they were lovely. But like my French is not good. I learned a little bit when I was little, so I can understand quite a lot. It's really random. But that was my discovery when I went to Paris. I was like, why do I know what some of
the French are
saying?
not rude. They prefer you to try to speak French.
That's what I mean. That's that's what I'm going for,
That's
right?
what it
Like,
is.
you could say it wrong, but you're trying. And so that's like whenever I go to a country where I don't speak the language, I try to learn something.
Yes,
It's the same in Quebec, and Quebec gets a bad rap because they don't want to talk to you in English because it's Quebec. They speak French. And they have the same bad rep where like people are like, well, if you go and you don't speak French, then they're rude to you. And like, well, they just want you to try.
Just make an effort.
Yeah, being I do love travel. I don't see myself as a language person, but I do understand that if I'm traveling to a place, you should learn some key phrases.
Something. Yes.
Something. You should learn the basic phrases that you will probably use.
Yes.
So like, how much is this?
Yes.
Where
Where's
can
the
I find
bathroom?
this? Exactly. Because these are important phrases that, and of course you are in another country, you should learn their customs, their language,
Yes.
their way of doing things. And I think, like you said, the French experiences that you had were probably nice because they saw that you were respectful enough to attempt to communicate in French. Whereas a lot of people, I'm part of the culture of Americans who tends to do this.
We are the ugly Americans. Yes. We
travel to a place without any, prior thinking about this, and they just think English is going to get them everywhere, so that's just what they do.
Yeah, they just assume.
And of course, it does work because English is the most commonly spoken language in the world. Don't take advantage of it. Thank you.
I get it, and like you said, not everybody has the aptitude, but you do have the aptitude to learn a couple of key phrases.
Yes.
And then one of them being, sorry, I don't speak X, Y, and Z.
Yes. Just that should be the first thing you learn.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't speak this very well. Help.
Like and people will go to Europe and I'm like, well, everybody learns English. And I'm like, yeah, they all learn a second language there by rule, by law, and they're really good at it.
Yeah.
America. Like, is my Spanish fluent? No. Like, I mean, maybe it was at some point, but really not anymore. But like, just it drives me up the wall. Like, I knew a girl when I was living in Japan that she was studying Japanese, refused to eat anything there. She ate McDonald's every day.
Oh, that's not good
She
for
got
you.
salt poisoning from it, which was hilarious.
Sodium.
Yeah. Sodium poisoning. Yes. She it was so funny. I know I'm not that person, but she was literally she stole somebody's bike because she thought somebody stole hers, and then the Japanese person that found it brought it back to the school and was like, could I have my bike back now? I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this, why would you do that? But anyway, like that, these are little things that drive me nuts about people who allegedly love to travel but want it on their terms. Like the resort traveler, right?
Yes.
That's what because language is such a huge part, and if you think people should speak English when you come to America, well then I hate to break it to you. You should probably use that same logic going to somebody else's country.
What was it? What was her character? Gloria on
Modern Family.
Yes.
Her helicopter sound is hilarious.
There is a scene where she says, "You know how smart I sound in my own in
Yes.
Spanish, right?"
Oh, yeah.
It's such a heartbreakingly good line. I cried when I heard that line because I was like, I see you, I get it, and that is the essence of it, right? Like, don't be afraid to sound
The amount of times
dumb.
I've walked away from a cashier or somebody in Taiwan after having a conversation that was muddled through, and I walk away and I go, I promise I'm smart. I promise I know.
It's like, but like, I promise you that they know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And like, this is not a criticism.
No,
on
I
you.
know.
Okay, good. Because like, they know and you know, but you are a self-conscious soul, which I get on a spiritual level.
Judgment of
but
self.
you must walk away reminding yourself that might have been bad, but I tried.
Yeah.
And I can only get better.
Absolutely. For anyone who's looking to pick up a new language, any tips? Tricks?
Music.
Oh, that's a good one.
Look up the famous singers of the target language you want. There's always somebody, if it's an Asian language, somebody's gonna have romanized it.
Oh yeah.
And you can follow along. They're very easy to find. You have no excuse. You have the internet.
Oh yeah.
Watch their TV shows.
Oh yes. Also, because
watch it with subtitles first,
yeah.
and then watch it again without the subtitles.
My coworker, he's studying Chinese right now. He's been watching Peppa Pig
Oh, cute.
in Chinese.
No, but that's like,
and it's adorable, but it's on his level.
no, but like my Chinese got as good as it is now because of teaching the preschoolers. So like that's part of why I probably talk like a child. I mean, I know I already do, but like, but even more so in Chinese. Like I have a little bit of a baby Chinese cadence, I guess, and my language usage I think is a little bit more like that because I'm a sponge and that's what I learned, right?
Yeah.
And so those are the things. Watch a TV show, watch a movie, listen to the music, pick up children's books.
Yes.
Don't be embarrassed to
yes.
watch Peppa Pig in the
Yeah,
language,
don't be embarrassed to do that, or
right?
like, or just find like something that you liked as a kid. I guarantee you, it's been done in another language that you're gonna learn. And
Like Chip and Chap.
Chip and Chap.
Chip, chip, chip,
And
chip.
I mean, every single Disney movie ever has been translated to every single language there is out there. You can find it. You could probably switch it on the DVDs that you buy if you're still buying DVDs. You know,
Disney Plus makes it super easy to change languages.
That is correct.
Just swap language.
Yeah,
Yes.
I watched Coco in Chinese, which was really, really strange.
Oh, I don't think I
But-
could handle that.
I mean, dubbing is weird in general, but I'm sure
But not
if you're
from Disney though.
if you're trying to learn a language, it is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for geeking out with me again, you guys. And thanks, listeners, for tuning in to Radio Taiwan International. I'm Michelle Chang, and I will be back next Thursday with another episode of Geek Out. Bye.
Bye bye. Sayonara.
Just see.